Assalamualaikum and a very good day. Today, me and my group mates will present our topic on the analysis of Tinglish or Thailand English accent. My name is Arsyad Bin Abu Bakar.
My name is Siti Zahirah Binti Hizam.
My name is Izzat Zafri bin Mohd Zamri.
And my name is Muhammad Irfan Binti Aznan.
Okay. Okay, next. Thailand, like any other country in the world, is a country that is rich with cultural attributes and traditions that are mostly forms of the influences from the diverse groups of ethnicities. As far as the language used in this country is concerned, what is known to many is that the official language of Thailand still remains the Thai language. Like any other developing country in the world, English is also being commonly used in this country. English is determined as a foreign language in Thailand. The English language taught in schools is seen very much as the language of business as well as the language of educated people. Although the usage of this language is already being familiarized by the Thai people, statistics has shown that there are only 10% out of approximately 6.5 million population that speaks this language. To add to that, the current national curriculum for fundamental education from grade 1 to 12 requires English as a compulsory subject to be taught in schools. As for the university level, English is required subject for students in all fields. In addition, besides the formal education here in Thailand, there are also a number of private English training institutes offering various English courses to both children and adults. The usage of English in this country has brought upon the emergence of Tinglish. Tinglish or Thaiglish, Tanglish, Thailish, or even Thainglish refers to any form of English mixed with or heavily influenced by Thai. It is typically produced by native Thai speakers due to the language interference from the first language. The most general differences that occur in Tinglish in compared to standard native English are the pronunciations, vocabularies, and also grammar. Okay, next. So now we will look into these differences. First up, pronunciations. It cannot be denied that pronunciation does play a big role in comprehension. In general, pronunciation leads to greater problems in understanding than grammar does. In Tinglish, some letters are at the end of a word or syllable. In Thai are only half pronounced leading. In other words, the ending of some words are indistinguishable. For example, the words can and can't sounding almost identical. Next, in English, there are some sounds in it that doesn't exist in Thai. These sounds are then replaced or substituted for one that is considered close enough. For example, the sound of the letter V is always replaced with the sound of the letter W. To add to that, the sound R and L are used interchangeably in Thai. When combine these two features, take the word very in Tinglish, it will be pronounced as welly. Other features of Tinglish pronunciation is that they tend to shift the stress to the last syllable of the word. Next. Moving on, the next difference that we are going to talk about is the vocabulary. In Tinglish, speakers tend to add particles at the end of the sentences. Just like there is lah in Manglish, there is also la in Tinglish to indicate suggestion that he or she wants to inform something to the listener. Or it can also be used to ask the subject to do something that the subject of the previous sentence does. For example, I'm going to have dinner now. How about you lah? It doesn't stop there. There are a number of particles that are specifically spoken by Tinglish speakers, like na, ja, krap, and ka. To add to that, these particles that the speakers are using can also be combined. For example, la na ja, na krap, or na ka. For example, when it is used in a sentence, please excuse me na krap, or please excuse me na ka. Okay, next. Next is about the grammar of Tinglish. In general, Thai grammar is much more simpler than European languages. In the language itself, there's no verb inflection. Single and plural nouns are by and large the same. No noun genders, subject and object personal pronouns are the same. Therefore, in English, the way they speak, it tends to lead to sentences in English that are simplistic but still easily understandable. If we take, for example, the sentence, I didn't want to go yesterday, in English, they would say it like this, yesterday I not want to go. To add to that, there is also the doubling of few English words. For example, let's say normally English speakers would say, yes, it is quite near. But in English, rather than constructing a whole sentence, a English speaker would just say, yes, near, near, if the speaker will ask about the distance of something. So that is all from me. I now pass the floor to the next presenter.
Yeah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Now we're going to move on to the special features of Thai English. So I'll be presenting about the features on consonant syllables. Okay, so for consonants, I'm going to divide the presentation into 6 parts, which are plosives, nasals, fricatives, affricates, lateral, and also approximants. Okay, so let's move on to the plosives first. What is plosive? Plosive is a consonant sound that is made by stopping air flowing out of the mouth and then suddenly releasing it. In English, we have P, T, K, B, D, and G. They have 6 plosives. All right. So the feature in Thai E is actually the phoneme P, T, K are generalized to no audible release. And English G is replaced with Thai K. This is because in Thai language, all these three phonemes are pronounced with no audible release when appear at final syllables. So it is represented by the diacritic that you can see here. However, in English, if you can see in the examples, when plosive appear at the final syllable, it has 3 kinds of pronunciation, which is aspirated, unaspirated, and inaudible. But since Thailand has only one form of pronunciation, they tend to generalize the pronunciation to inaudible only. So instead of saying sack, they may be said sack only without actually releasing the air. All right. And then they also replace G with K. This is because the sound G does not exist um, in their language. So they replace with the most closest plosive, which is K sound. So instead of saying good, they say good, right? The next one is nasals. What is nasals? Nasals is sounds in which the air stream is expelled partly through the nose and partly through the mouth. So basically, it is the sound. Right. So what is the special feature in Thai English? When nasals are followed with suffix er, Thai prone to add g sound. And then when nasals appear as a syllable, Thai tend to add intrusive vowel. Why? Because nasals only appear at initial and final position in Thai language. So when we add er, now it is actually at the middle part, or we call it as the medial position of the word. And then also when the nasals appear as a syllable, it becomes a cluster consonant. So cluster consonant does not exist in Thai language. So they tend to add intrusive vowel. Let us see at the examples. So the first example, when the nasals become syllables like rhythm and prism, since it does not exist in Thai language, they tend to add intrusive so it becomes rhythm instead of rhythm, right? And then the next example, sing. When we add er, we usually pronounce it as singer, but since in Thai language, the nasal sound does not appear at the medial position, so they tend to add intrusive e. It becomes singer. Okay. Next one is fricatives. What is fricatives? Fricatives is produced by bringing the mouth into position to block the passage of the airstream, but not making complete closure. So the air can still flow a little bit through the articulators. So what are the special features? They replace or omit these 4 phonemes with the closest phoneme in Thai. The other 4 that you can see here respectively. The replacement also occurs across all 3 positions because, as we all know, although that particular phoneme exists in that language, sometimes it does not exist in that particular position. we have three positions altogether: the initial, middle, and final. So somehow when we change the position, Thai have difficulty in pronouncing it because simply because the phoneme does not exist in Thai. Okay, let's see some of the examples. So when the V, T, Z, and G sounds appear at the initial position, it is often replaced with W, D, S, and Ch sound. Okay, so instead of van, it becomes when. Then it becomes then. Zoo becomes su. Genre becomes genre. Okay, and same goes to the others. And then the next one is when it appears at the final voiceless fricatives, like path, breath, kiss, and cash, it is also being replaced with the closest fricatives in Thai. It becomes pap, bread, kid, and cap. Right? Okay. Next one is affricates. What is affricates? Affricates is a consonant sound that begins as a stop sound with complete obstruction of the breath stream and concludes with a fricative sound with incomplete closure and a sound of friction, such as ch and j in English. Okay. So what are the special features in Thai E? English ch and j are substituted with Thai ch and ch respectively. So the reason is because the place of articulation is closest, so they replace it with the nearest alternative. Okay, what are some of the examples? So when they pronounce words such as church and George, it becomes church and chod, right? Okay, next one is lateral. What is lateral? A consonant sound produced by raising the tip of the tongue against the roof of the mouth so that the A stream flows past one or both sides of the tongue. Okay, lateral in English is a l sound. Okay, so what is a special feature? Dark L, L sound, usually represented by double L in spellings, okay, which occurs at the final are usually substituted with the nasal N or being omitted. Okay, the reason is why, because in Thai language, dark L will never occur before vowels, but this is very common in English. So the solution is they replace it with nasal N or they simply omit the sound. So as an example, the word ball and call will have dark L at the end, right? So they tend to either replace with N or omit, so it become born or call. Okay. Lastly is approximants. What is approximants? Approximants is a sound that is produced by bringing one articulator in the vocal tract close to another without, however, causing audible friction. So this is what Arsyad said just now. Since in Thai language, the r and l sound are actually what we call as the allophones and not different phonemes. So they tend to use it interchangeably, okay? So this is what I said here, because Thai l and r sound exist in three variation. It depends on the position of the position of the or the nature of the phoneme where it is located. Then that is what decides either they will use l or r sound. Okay. Example here, the word read and lead, they might change it into lead and also lead, okay, because it is actually a random usage of l and r sound. Okay, so that's all from me. I'll pass the floor to the next presenter.
Alright. Thank you, Izzat. Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Zahirah. So I'm going to present on vowel characteristic of Thai English. Alright, so the definition for vowel is sound that is produced with an open vocal tract. While in English language, a vowel is a letter sound of the English alphabet that is not a consonant. However, in Thai language, the long and short length of vowels plays a significant role in the meaning of words because Thai is a language that has tone. For example, na, and na have different meanings due to the tone. So, some English vowels are pronounced shorter or longer due to the influence of their language. They also change the vowels to suit their language. There are many more vowel sounds in Thai than English. Alright. The Thai vowel system is consisted of 18 monophthongs and 16 diphthongs. Thai distinguish English lax and tense vowels by perceiving them as short and long. Okay, so I'm going to talk about monophthong, diphthongs, and triphthongs. Next slide, please. Right, monophthong. Definition in one whose articulation at both beginning and end is relatively fixed and which does not glide up or down towards a new position of articulation. So, in easy way to understand, monophthong has a single vowel. Uh, in Thai English, short vowels were pronounced longer in the monophthong. For example, the monophthong E was simplified as the diphthong A. For example, the word village. Village, for received pronunciation is village, but for Thai English, they pronounce it as village. Next, please. For the monophthong, some short vowels were uttered longer. For example, the word dan. For the received pronunciation, it is pronounced as dan, but in Thai English, it was pronounced as dan. Right. Next slide, please. Right. For the vowel sound a, it is similarly enunciated as k in Thai. For example, the word arm and afternoon. Arm is the received pronunciation. However, in Thai English, it is pronounced as harm. And afternoon, for received pronunciation, afternoon is pronounced afternoon, but in Thai English, it is pronounced as afternoon. Next slide, please. All right. Diphthong. Diphthong is a single syllable vowel in which at the beginning of the sound glides to another, slightly different from vowel sound. Well, in Thai English, the features are long vowels was articulated shorter. Diphthong I was articulate for E. Like, the example is finally. For the received pronunciation, the correct word is finally, but in Thai English, it is pronounced as finally. Next slide, please. Diphthong I is sometimes pronounced with R. For example, Hawaiian shirt becomes Hawaiian shirt. Next slide, please. Diphthong O tends to be pronounced with O. For example, the word ball gown. In the received pronunciation, it is pronounced as ball gown, but in Thai English, it is pronounced like ball gown. Next slide, please. Diphthong. The diphthong O was enunciated as a longer monophthong R. For example, in the word only, in received pronunciation, it is pronounced as only, but Thai English, it is pronounced as only. All right, next slide. Triphthong. The definition is a sound formed by the combination of two vowels in a single syllable. The triphthong hour for the word hour was articulated as the diphthong ur. So the example is hour. In received pronunciation, it is hour, but in Thai English, it is ur. That's all from me. Thank you.
Right. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My name is Mohd Irfan, and today I'm going to explain about tones and prosody. So, according to Wellmus, 1973, definition of tone language is a language with tone, which at least some morphemes enter the lexical realization of an indication of pitch. During pronunciation, tone refers to a difference in the pitch of a syllable. And in Thai, every syllable is pronounced in one of five tones, which are low, mid, high, falling, or rising. And we will discuss about the five tones later. And the tone must be spoken correctly for the intended meaning of a word to be understood. Since every word has a particularly mandatory tone, we say that the Thai language has obligatory lexical tone. And as for Thai English words, it can be seen that this language was influenced by the Thai language itself. And as we can see that Singlish is influenced by Mandarin or Hokkien, but this Thai English accent is influenced by the Thai language itself. and it is because Thai people tend to speak English language using their Thai tones. Next slide. We're going to discuss about the 5 types of tones in uh, Thai language. And the first one is low tones. Low tones is spoken in a constant or slightly falling lower pitch, starting at a pitch lower than your normal vocal range. And then we have mid tones spoken in a constant pitch in your normal vocal range. And then we have high tones spoken at the top of your normal vocal range, producing a somewhat stressed sound. And then we have rising tones, rising sound, as in questions spoken in English. And then lastly, we have falling. Falling is a starting slightly above, and then comfortable speaking range, rise just a little before falling below the starting point. And then I'm gonna play a sequence of tones which start with mid tone, low, falling, high, rising. Alright. So that is the example of the 5 tone in Thai. And talking about prosody, all syllables are stressed with the same intensity of intonation. Just like I mentioned, Thai people tend to speak English using their Thai intonation. And perhaps by hearing to the speaker, we can guess that he or she is from Thailand. Just like the video, if they didn't put the title ex Prime Minister of Thailand, by hearing what she spoke, we can guess that she is from Thailand. And then to add, when speaking Thai, they always speak using high pitch and fast tempo. But when these Thai people speak English, we tend to notice that they still speak using high pitch but with slower tempo. However, their pitch is totally not referring to their emotion. They just speak with high pitch as they were used to speak like that since they were born. Next slide. And then to conclude, Thai English, or we call as English accent, has been one of the most interesting accent to discuss. It is because this accent is very rare to hear and it is unique in its own way. From this discussion, it proved that English language has been an essential language to every country to this world. And English language is worth to learn. Besides, we can give a big appreciation to the Thai people who are learning and trying to improve their English language, as we know it is very hard for them to speak. Because some sounds in English simply doesn't exist in the Thai language, and this affects the way native Thai speakers pronounce English words. And that's all from us. Thank you for hearing our presentation. Until we meet next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.